My name is Paul Fuzinski, and I love all things outdoors. After through hiking the Appalachian Trail, my passion for travel and adventure has taken me to some pretty crazy places and has allowed me to try some pretty awesome things. Come hang out and learn with me and my friends as we get into the thick of it here at Aptitude Outdoors.
Well, let's see if they have, it depends. No, I don't know what they are. The Angels of Death have like a little white skirt.
Sweet. What have you been up to, man? I know are you still in school?
Yeah, I have a year and a half until I graduate.
For what?
Medical school.
Medical school?
Yeah.
Aren't you going into something insane like neurobiology or something?
Well, I have a degree in neuroscience, but I want to be a psychiatrist. I just did my psychiatry rotation in Lima.
Nice.
And actually, in the guy's private practice, the first time I went there was a bat in the bathroom. And I went in, and I thought it was like a Halloween prop because it was flying in a circle. But then it changed direction, and he was like afraid of it.
Really?
Yeah, and so I tried to get it out, and I kind of like locked it into a room. And then his wife wouldn't come in because she's even more afraid of animals, and his wife is like normally works the front desk. It was hilarious. And then she wouldn't come in the next week either when it was gone. So,
really?
Yeah, she was afraid.
People are really scared of bats. I mean, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I read about Ohio bats, and really mainly they just eat insects, and they don't like to fly in your hair, actually. There's some more mushrooms.
Luke is the resident person I know.
These are beautiful. Something ate the stem of that one.
I'm hungry. Man loves his mushrooms.
When you told me the other day you didn't see any, I figured you weren't looking.
I wasn't looking. I was talking to my camera.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention at all.
I was like, he said no, but it just rained. Yeah, there's a ton out here.
Why do you like mushrooms so much?
Well, I just am so used to looking for them now from going out in the forest, and it's fun.
What's the best?
There's a big one. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, what's the best tasting ones?
My favorite are the hen of the woods. Now, oysters actually grow at about eye level on trees. It's interesting, like on live trees.
You think we'll see any?
I don't know if, it might be a little too late in the season for them. I can't remember. I did a lot of mushroom hunting in the fall though, but it's been a few years.
Well, it is the fall.
Yeah, so maybe they will be out here.
So how often are you rocking out in the park?
Oh man, I haven't been here in months. I don't come to the park that often anymore, but I wanted to start again, so this was a good jump start for me.
Yeah, I try and get out here as often as possible, but as you know, being a busy dude, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's just as hard for you.
I have, well, I'm a big believer that if you really want to do something, you'll make time.
Yep.
So.
Right there with you.
So if there's something that I want to do, I'll make it happen if it's important enough to me.
Which this seems to be, because you've been bugging me for like 3 weeks to come out here, so. Finally made it happen, which yeah. I won't complain about. I love coming out here. I
have a giant tree tattoo on my side.
What?
Because I love trees.
When did you get that?
I got it a couple years ago. It goes all the way up to my shoulder and then up to my pec.
Tree DNA?
Yeah, tree and A.
This dude's committed. I love it.
Yeah, that was like an 8-hour tattoo, but I didn't sit for the whole thing.
I got a Sasquatch tattoo on my left arm. Big. I got it when I was 18. I came home and my mom thought it was a fake Sharpie because I was always kind of a little asshole, and I was always like pulling pranks on everyone and drawing tattoos on with Sharpies and stuff, but I actually went out and got one, and she smacked my arm like right when I got home.
Oh.
And it hurt so bad.
Wow. These look like little mushrooms on the moss.
Oh, those are tiny.
You know they make like moss bath mats? You ever seen those?
No.
Have you ever walked on moss barefoot before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
On the trail for sure.
Yeah. Oh, were you on the Appalachian Trail, is that what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, we did a lot of walking on moss, and it's just cool.
Yeah. If you really want to hunt for mushrooms, or if, I guess I mean in general, if somebody really wants to hunt for mushrooms, they have to go out into the forest. So, which is actually a big practice for me, because what I did a lot starting in high school and through college is we did this thing called, what I like to call logging, where you find logs to balance on, and you can find greater and greater difficulty logs. And
is that something you made up, or is that
me and Robbie used to do it all the time. We just made it up, but like it's really good for balancing. Like that's a nice one over there because it's kind of off the ground, but you can find ones that have fallen and are slightly elevated. Like that one's too elevated. It'd be too hard to do.
You just try and balance on them?
Yeah, and it actually like, it trains your balance. So we progressively got better until we could do ones that like shake and are thin that go over creeks. That's the real risk. Your heart starts racing with those.
Man, you guys sound like you have a good time.
Yeah. Actually, that one's not too, you could go up that one.
We used to just screw around I used to go out with your brother all the time, actually, to Hocking Hills. I was just talking about that on my last video. Like Nate and I would just go out to Hocking Hills all the time and screw around.
I'm not gonna go too high on this one because it just rained. This is nice and slippery. It's nice when they have bark on them. You have better luck, but it's been such a long time since I've done it.
I'm not doing it.
Trust myself to injure myself.
Oh, well, looks like you're a professional. I would definitely hurt myself. I'm not nimble. I'm like more of like a, I don't know what you even compare it to, a Sasquatch. Quiet, and I guess it's not a good comparison at all. But be like a wild horse, loud and obnoxious.
You bite people if they come too close unless you really like them.
Bite and kick people. I have long mane. It's usually all knotted up.
See, this is a better kind of log to balance on. Well, easier. I shouldn't say better, because it has bark on it.
It looks dangerous as shit. Looks like a fall.
Yeah, I've fallen.
I mean, the tree. If the tree fell, you'd be...
Oh, I don't really weigh that much, so that's never that's only happened to me like once or twice where it broke when I got to the end of it.
See, I weigh quite a bit, so that's my first concern. It's like,
yeah, it'll snap, and it's dead because it fell. So
it's like a lose-lose for me. Someone of my my weight class does not belong climbing up trees that are falling over. Hey, try this one. I think that's more your speed. Shimmy up that guy.
Oh my God.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
I could climb it, but I couldn't walk on it.
Which way you want to go, right or left?
Do both get you to the dunes?
Yep, one.
Let's go left.
Let's go left. Here we go.
We've entered a different biome.
Yeah, we're in the oak savanna. You noticed that?
The rarest, one of the rarest biomes, right?
On Earth, yeah.
Yeah, the oak savanna. Here's the sand.
Yeah, the oak openings, the oak openings itself is like one of the rarest habitats on Earth. So like, I don't know, people just don't know that.
Yeah, I had read about that. It was really like, I remember the first time I came to oak openings, I was in 7th grade and we went on a field trip and they had like a owl that they had tamed or something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember if it was an owl or a falcon.
An owl?
I don't know. So we all got to hold it with the glove.
That's cool.
And we learned about like how corn works. This here's corn.
You put it in the ground and it comes up.
You got to rotate the soil.
Yeah.
And we learned about how oak opening is very rare and they do like controlled burns. Mm-hmm. And I still haven't ever seen a controlled burn. They probably don't have people around when they do them, but.
Well, they block it off, but like you can see right here on the tree.
Oh.
Like you can see where it was burned.
Yeah. Yes, that's rather convenient timing.
If you walk in this whole park, like you'll see tons of areas that are like, if you're not paying attention, you don't really notice. But then like once you start like paying attention for it, like now when you'll look, you'll start seeing trees and you'll be like, oh crap, they're burned. So what are your plans after you graduate with your doctor degree?
So once you graduate med school, you're a doctor, but you're not ready to practice. You have to go to residency.
How many years is that?
Residency is 3 to like 8 years. So psych residency is 4 years. So I'll train for 4 more years after I do medical school, and then I'll become a physician.
Okay.
An attending physician is what they call it. Somebody that can practice on their own, board certified. And trust me, you want somebody that has that much training.
Well, yeah, I would hope so.
Because there's a lot of responsibility, and you can harm people if you really don't know what you're doing.
When I go to the doctor, they're like, I don't know, man, here's some ibuprofen. And I'm like, well, this sucks. Thanks.
That'll be $200.
Yeah, so I don't go anymore. And I don't know, that's probably a terrible practice to go in, but like, I don't know, you're a doctor. What do you suggest? I mean, like when I do stuff like this and I hurt myself, like unless it's broken, I do not go to the doctor.
You probably don't need to. Like if you have strains or sprains, the number one thing you do is rest, ice, elevation, compression, and ibuprofen and Tylenol. I guess the biggest thing that you need to remember is if you take an NSAID, which stands for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug like ibuprofen, Aleve, naproxen, Advil, all that stuff, you need to eat them with food or you can get stomach ulcers if you take them too much.
Sweet. That sounds like a good time.
So, but you probably don't, unless you're taking it every day.
I don't take those either. I don't take any medicine, really. I just kind of like tough it out. Is that bad?
No, that's fine. I mean, because those things are just treating symptoms. They're not curative. So if you can deal with the symptoms, then it's fine.
Do you do any other outdoor stuff besides just hiking around at the park? Or?
I haven't in a long time.
Logging.
Logging?
That should be an extreme sport.
It can be dangerous depending on what logs you choose. You gotta work your way up. But the nice thing about nature is that it has all the difficulty levels available for you if you just look.
Do you think it helps you at all, like your medical practice, like even in school and stuff? Like, I don't know, I always find it as like a stress reliever to get outside. Like, even if I'm not doing anything extreme, like if I had a shit day at work and I'm like real tired or whatever, even if I just come here and like just walk this like 1 or 2 mile trail, I'm always like, man, I feel way better, you know? Like,
so there's been research on it. I was actually gonna bring it up earlier, so I'm glad you asked. So in Japan, it's called Shinrin-yoku, and it's the practice of being around trees. So they found that like being around trees really helps people's mental state. It's like, it can be like on par with mindfulness meditation, where a lot of that tension can be relieved by being out in nature. And if you think about it, like they've even checked like the color green, like the color green really calms people, and nature is really green.
Yeah.
If you think about it, humans spent almost all of their evolution in nature, so we're deeply tied to it. And I believe the removal from it plays a role in the anxiety and depression that you see run rampant in the modern world.
Well, yeah, even you have the psychology background, so that's like, or you're trying to practice psychology, right? Psychiatry?
Yeah, but there's a lot of psychology in psychiatry.
Well, yeah, so it's like, and I don't have a description for it. I'm definitely not as smart as you on that front, but I have spent a ton of time outside, and like, even when I'm doing stuff outside that like, even if say, for instance, when my wife and I were through hiking the Appalachian Trail, like obviously when you're doing that, something that intensive for like 6 months straight, basically, there's times where you're pissed off, like
Of course.
outside, and you know, you're in the elements and it can get a little hairy.
Yeah.
But like even the worst times I've had on the trail being outside were like much better than bad times I've had like in an office building.
Yeah.
Do you think like, I don't know, do you think like having, I don't know, I feel like when I'm like in an office building or in that setting, like it's super confining, but when you're out here, it's so open and big, and like, you're not breathing like recycled air from like an air conditioner, you know? You're not 2 foot away from the person next to you. I can't get enough of it. Like it's addicting.
Because it's so rewarding, yeah, it's gonna keep bringing you back. And since you're paying enough attention to it, the reward it has, it'll bring you back as kind of like a learned behavior, essentially.
Yeah.
Because anything that's rewarding becomes a learned behavior. But it's really great that you paid attention enough to realize that being out here really can help you, because this going out into nature is one of the long-term solutions, or at least long-term treatments for stress and depressive symptoms. It's not always curative, but it's really helpful, and it doesn't really carry major negative side effects depending on what you're doing. If you're doing like extreme stuff that's gonna break your bones or whatever, but like going hiking can help build a foundation for your mental state that can help you live a much more fulfilling life.
Well, like even, I agree with you 100% on that, but I kind of disagree on like the pushing your body part. Like I found that, like from a mental health perspective, I don't know if that's the right term, but like I found that the way I used to think and the way I used to do things and the way I used to like everybody gets depressed and like they feel like shit sometimes. It's just part of being human.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like all of the crazy stuff that I like to do from time to time, whether it's like the thru hike or kayaking, we just did the Fort to Port. It was like 160 miles. I mean,
yeah, I watched
it's not the most brutal thing I've ever done, but it was tough.
Yeah.
And when I come out of those experiences, or even just hunting, like you sit outside for 5, 6, 8 hours at a time, like in the freezing cold.
Yeah.
I feel like once you emerge from that, like, you can go that way if you want. Once you emerge from like a really hard event like that, or like a really hard undertaking, and then you add in the elements, I don't know, I feel like it's made me mentally tougher. Like things that used to bother me don't bother me anymore, and I feel like my stress threshold is much, much higher than it used to be.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that at all. But
I do. I guess the point I was trying to make about, I think pushing yourself is good, and it builds your mental fortitude, because like being out in nature the way you have builds adaptability and resilience, which are like key elements to having a fulfilling life, because things are not always going to go your way. But learning how to adapt them and be resilient and accepting of those things, because like you got to accept nature as it is. You're not going to change nature.
Absolutely.
So, can really build a lot of mental strength and help you deal with situations in other parts of your life. I guess what I meant is like, if you're doing things that might kill you and you do die, well, it's like a very extreme example. Like I was just trying to say like, there's side effects to everything, but with nature there really aren't. Like, it's not like medicine where there's more side effects in medicine. With nature, depending on what you do, like, it's definitely a net benefit.
Yeah, and like, I think what I've noticed...
I used to set up my hammock right here.
You didn't get kicked out?
No, I would set it up, and I would journal here, and especially during the fall. So
this is a cool spot. I love this. Like,
yeah, I'd put it on this tree, and this tree, and you could actually use this tree to push you back and forth.
So you spent some time out here. I've personally noticed that like it's really hard to get people who aren't into nature stuff, like even just hike. Some people are terrified of the woods because there's bugs, there's, you know, it's uncomfortable occasionally. Even just a mile walk, you get all sweaty and feel like shit sometimes, but like, well, there's like a tipping point, because you can inch them in, like, hey dude, come on, just come with me this one time. Like, if you don't like it, you never have to go back. And like some people don't. Some people just do not like it, and that's fine. Like not everybody can like it. But you find another mushroom?
No, I found some nice moss.
Like a good example is when I started doing the show, like my buddy Jeff, who I film it with, he liked nature stuff, but I found that he like really likes it way more now that we've like done it. And he's been like essentially forced by me to do some of this shit, like uncomfortable, like stand out in the cold for 5 hours while we film something, or like get in, you know, nasty, dirty water or whatever you like. And like, he's even told me, he's like, man, I think I'm really starting to like this nature shit. I see what it's all about. And for me, like that's a win.
That has to have been really rewarding for you.
Well, and it's just like anyone that I share this with or try and like really
look at this view. It's beautiful.
Like anyone I try and share this like, I don't know what you call it. It's not a hobby. It's like a compulsion, I guess. That's the only way I have to describe it. So like, whoever I'm trying to share this experience with of nature, and I generally always bring people here because it's like the most badass part.
What, the sand dunes?
Yeah, dude. Like, just oak openings in general.
Oh yeah, it's like the best.
And like, I feel like once they like experience the way like I experience it, and like I get to like show them the cool stuff instead of they just go out there on their own and screw around and like maybe get lost and then it turns into like a negative experience.
They get lost on the trail.
Show them like how fun it can be and like relaxing and just like overall good. I think there's a tipping point where they like not necessarily immerse themselves like I do, but they're like into it. They're like, man, I could really get into this hiking stuff, and I don't know. I've also found a lot of elitism in outdoor activities. I don't know if you've seen that as much as I have, but there's like with any outdoor activity, there's always someone who wants to do it faster or better, or mountain bike or backpacking. There's always someone who wants to have a lighter pack than you and hike it faster, and it's like,
of course, there's ego in every single sector of the world.
That can be off-putting for a lot of people too. But like, I think even just simple, down-to-earth stuff like what we're doing right now, like we're literally just walking and hanging out until like 100% of the stress I had at work is gone. Like it's just...
Yeah, me too. I had a little bit of anxiety today that I felt like as soon as I drove in, I was like, immediately started feeling better. Actually, like on the way here while I was looking at the clouds, it started to feel better.
Well, and it changes your perspective on like the whole day, essentially. Like, this is complete 180 from the office building I came from,
Yeah, the way that I explain to people, as I said, I tell them you can work towards where your job is your passion, or you can have a job that funds your passion. As long as you're doing something that you're passionate about, that's what's so important. And I always want for people to be doing something in their life that they're passionate about, because that's where the real meaning of life is. Nobody was put on the earth to just work a job they didn't like until they retire and then die.
Well, I've noticed too, like, a lot of people, they get into the cycle of they work all day and then they're tired or pissed off or both after work. Then they go home and they just waste their whole evening doing nothing.
Well, they live a sedentary lifestyle, which just destroys their body.
Yeah, and I'm like no model of like peak physical fitness or anything, but like...
This is a different one. This brown stuff, that's it reproducing. These things that come out are how it reproduces. That's how you know a moss is in its reproductive phase. I forget the name. As a freshman in college, we learned about life cycles of like mushrooms, like different trees. There's like angiosperms, gymnosperms, different types of moss, and like some plants can only reproduce with water, and then other plants started being able to, like as evolution carried on, being able to pass seeds through the air or pollination without water, and that was like led to an explosion of a ton of different species like hundreds of millions of years ago. Like all these different types showed up because that survivability without needing water to reproduce. I mean, they still needed water to live, all living things do, but absolutely. They didn't directly need water to reproduce. That made a big difference. Well, and it's cool, like I'm huge into like biological evolution and all that stuff, because like when you're like, when you're into nature, and I have an anthropology degree, so like it's just like naturally what I was drawn to. And you start making those connections, and then you start spending that time outside. Just like, you're like, holy shit, it all makes sense. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's so hard to tell how much of the stuff you think in your head is just like shit you believe because like, your brain connected that way, and you're just like, yeah,
that's gotta be true, or like how much is like actual factual.
Yeah.
But like, I've never felt more like human in my life than when I'm outside doing this stuff. Like even like the really, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to that real intense like outdoor activity stuff, because it makes you like really work and push yourself, but not in like a job capacity.
Yeah.
But it's really like kind of testing your grit and determination.
Feels more real in a way.
And I don't know, you connect with nature in like a really real way, because you're like in it. Like you can't, and then you learn to like appreciate and see things for what they are, rather than just like, I like trees because they're cool. Like you see them function, like you see them, you know, out in their element as opposed to yours, and you're just like, I don't know, it's very rewarding. And that's like the entire reason I started doing this like channel and the show and everything, is to like spread that message.
This is cool. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. You know, that the feeling that you're describing, it makes complete sense because of evolutionary psychology. Like, if there's any type of deep feeling that humans could have, you know, as animals started to even have feelings and have neurological systems that could provide feelings, it all occurred in nature. Only in like the last couple thousand years did humans stop constantly being in nature. So it's like very deeply within us as a living organism to find a depth of feeling out here.
Well, and even like, I mean, we're talking like 10,000 years ago, which in the scheme of things, like that's when civilization as we know it kind of like started.
When they discovered agriculture.
Yeah, like cities and populations of like people congregated in one area in like mass numbers. But you're talking like 90,000 years of this, like not necessarily
even more than that.
Yeah, like, well, and before I got out of school, the last number they had for anatomically modern human was 100,000, was like the first specimen, but I'm sure it's
at about 318,000 years.
Really?
I just looked it up yet because they keep pushing it back.
Well, it's changed while I was in college.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it changed quite a bit. Like,
it's DNA testing.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is that it runs even deeper than that, because you got to think about the species before humans that we came from. So you're talking about millions of years, actually.
Yes, and it's only in the last,
blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye on like the longer term scale of things that we've actually like done this. Like, it's funny because this is an activity. This is considered like a hobby that we're doing right now, but this used to be it. Yeah. Like, there was nothing else but this. Yeah. Like, shit, I need to eat. that cute little squirrel I just saw, like, I'm going to eat that. But we got an obstacle. And it's cool to actually like, technical difficulty. But it is really cool, because like, I don't know, anymore, nobody even wants to talk about evolution or anything, because there's it's a touchy subject for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense to me, but like, you know, it's refreshing to talk to someone who like understands that. And like, I don't even consider why it's a controversial topic at this point.
I don't know either.
Like, it's really absurd to me, but
it's one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, I get in those documentaries and the books and like anything about like evolutionary history, even if it's non-human, like birds, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And it makes so much sense. And that's like, I think it's, like you said, deep-rooted, like humans,
Oh, we're in a fern biome now.
Yeah, dude, it changes out here every 10 seconds.
Yeah, it does. I love it. That's one of the things I love about it.
It's like sunset.
Yeah, this is a really good time. And in the fall, there actually are less bugs, so I didn't even need bug spray today.
Yeah, I love that.
What were you saying though?
We can't even capture like what this looks like on camera right now.
No.
Like, I could bust out my camera and try and take some pictures, but like, you can't, you gotta be out here to see it.
You should feel this sand. It feels really good because it's nice and cool.
Oh, it is. It's like 20 degrees cooler than the air.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It's significantly cooler.
Yeah, because the ground has a much higher specific heat than air. Do you know about specific heat?
No.
So
Dude, I'm not a doctor. You're the doctor. I'm just
this
a guy.
this is a chemistry phenomena. So specific heat explains why bodies of water stay hotter than, like, near the end of the summer, bodies of water are hotter, but near the beginning of summer, bodies of water are cooler. Because temperature is actually, if something is a certain temperature, it holds a different amount of heat than another object. So different objects can hold certain amounts of heat based on their chemical properties compared to others. So like the air has a very low specific heat because the molecules are so far in between that it's really easy to heat it up, it's really easy to cool it down. So like if you had a kilogram of water at 50 degrees Celsius and you had a kilogram of lead at 50 degrees Celsius, water has such a higher specific heat that it would release more heat into the room than the lead by far. Even though they're both the same temperature, the water has more heat within it.
Okay. That's sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, and in theory, it makes sense. Like,
so the ground, because it's getting colder, even though today it was 70, the ground is colder because it's lost more heat, and it takes more heat from the sun into the air to warm it up than the air itself. So the air is going to be pretty much always either warmer or cooler than the ground, depending on the temperature outside.
you're just a Renaissance man. You know it all. And that's cool to have like that actual like scientific understanding of all this stuff. I pretty much just make it up as I go.
Well, you actually can discover all these things just by observation.
Yeah.
Which is how it originally happened.
Well, it was funny because, well, Nate and your brother and I went to college together for anthropology. You ever graduate, by the way?
No.
Oh.
He had one semester left.
Okay. But so we had this professor, Dr. Mitras, and he always told us this story that like super stuck with me. And Nate and I used to talk about it all the time. Like, he said he was walking, or they were driving down somewhere down south, and this guy was like hitchhiking. So they picked him up, him and his wife. They're like awesome hippie people. And they're just like really caring, and like they help anybody out, even though he was kind of rough around the edges. And he would like, so they picked this guy up, and he was telling him how he like bred and whatever, like pigeons or doves. And he basically said this random guy they picked up off the street gave him a full rundown of biological evolution. Like, how'd you learn all this? He's like, I watched the pigeons. And I was like, exactly. Like, you don't need to describe it word for word in like scientific vocabulary to like get it. So yeah, man, it's cool. There's two different ways of looking at everything. And
Yeah.
not everything has to be so rigid.
I agree.
So what are your plans? What are your plans for the future?
Well, I want to go to South Carolina for residency because I eventually, like 10 to 20 years from now, want to do Mdma-Assisted Psychotherapy for PTSD. It's a long name, but they give people MDMA, which is pure ecstasy. It's just, MDMA is the molecule, methylene dioxymethamphetamine. And they have two therapists sit with the patient for 6 to 8 hours while they're on it. And what MDMA does neurologically is it quiets the amygdala, but it also increases your sympathetic nervous system, so you're more aroused. And you also have increased connection between your limbic system, which is the emotional part of your brain, and your frontal lobe, which helps you describe things in language, and also your parietal lobe plays a role in language as well. And those are kind of broad terms for the lobes, so I won't get into the specific like brain areas, but all of that together is very useful in treating PTSD because it allows somebody to go back to their trauma points and re-experience them without all of that fear and anxiety that makes them want to avoid it at all costs. And so it can help rewire their brain in order to be able to handle the fact that that happened to them and trust the world again. But there has to be a lot of therapy beforehand and after, otherwise they'll go back to the way they were. So that's why they call it Mdma-Assisted Psychotherapy. The key is the psychotherapy, not the drug itself.
And yeah, I mean, and it's actually cool because you and your brother are both like super into like drug advocacy, but not from like the perspective of like people should just do drugs. Like, I don't even know if that's correct, but like you guys actually are out there advocating for like what you believe in. And I think that's super sweet because like, I don't, like not even to be political, like I really don't have a personal opinion on drugs. Like it's not a thing that I think about.
Yeah, it's
like,
off your radar.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't have anything for or against it.
We're in a new biome again.
Yeah, we're back in the pines. And like, but the bigger thing is you guys are trying to do it in a way to like help people, which I'm a big proponent for anything that helps people. And
you want to help people through nature.
Yeah, I want to help nature through nature. I want to help people through, like,
well, people are an extension of nature, so.
Yeah, and it's just like, a lot of people out there you meet and they're so self-absorbed with like their own thing. And like, honestly, you and your brother are two of the most people that I know that are just like giving of yourself to like 200% all the time. And it's crazy. Like your whole family's like that.
That's where I got it from.
And it's like, you're always great people to be around. I mean, your brother and I argue about anything until we're like, yeah, it blows. But like, if I needed it, like, he'd give me the shirt off his back, and you're the same way. And like, it's so awesome that you guys just go like balls to the wall. Like this isn't something they've been advocating for like a couple of years. Like you guys have been doing this since like high school.
Yeah,
like, when
for the past 8 years, I've believed in this, and I still will believe into it. Because of the power that it has to heal people, I'm not gonna let go of it.
Yeah.
Because I really know it can make a difference in people's lives, and that's why I want to be a psychiatrist in the first place, because I noticed that I happen to have an ability where I can be like a calm space for people with all this turmoil. There's a psychological term, I forget the term it is, but when you're with somebody else and they have mental pain, you actually can absorb it, neutralize it, and send it back neutralized to them, and just talking to them then can help you feel better. Forget the name of the phenomena, but that's something that I'm keen to do.
Well, even like, I don't know, it's not, it's like very altruistic with you guys too. It's not just
That's a good one.
Not just made up like,
There's the mushroom.
you're not just talking the talk, you know, you're walking the walk. And I like, no matter what anybody's doing, like I can always get behind that.
Ooh, this is, okay, good, there's some bark.
We got a madman. Oh, man, I'm not even on the tree and I'm about to fall over.
Okay.
He made it all the way. All right, I think that's enough video for today. You're probably tired of having the camera in your face.
No, that was fun.
Until next time, say hello to Dr. Zona.